Well, there you have it, everyone. Canada beats the U.S. 3-2 in overtime in Boston to win the Four Nation Face-Off. It was an outstanding game between the two teams, and the U.S. came up just a little short as Connor McDavid scored the game winner in overtime as he was left all alone in the slot and blew it by Connor Hellebuck for the win. Canada does not win this game. They probably don't even make it to overtime, or let alone even get out of overtime if it wasn't for Jordan Binnington's outstanding performance, frankly stealing that game for Canada as he stoned the U.S. in the third period and in overtime when Jake Gensel set up a beautiful pass to Austin Matthews, similarly in the slot, down low, and Matthews couldn't get the puck lifted up over the blocker of Binnington, and maybe that's the Toronto curse, what have you. But Binnington makes the save. The U.S. gets a couple other chances, and then a few minutes later, in that overtime, Connor McDavid gets his Mario Lemieux moment, similarly to Mario, struggling to win anything of meaning in the NHL playoffs. Mario played with Gretzky, and in that '87 World Cup, Mario scores the winner against Russia. So there you have it, 3-2 Canada over the U.S. It was a pretty well played game. There were no theatrics like Game 1 matchup between the U.S. and Canada. In fact, um, you know, Matt Matty Tkachuk ended up injured. Looked like he had a leg groin. Something was going on. He didn't play at all in the third period or overtime. Brady Tkachuk, who was a pretty dominant force for spurts of the game, including he scored a goal. He was sick. I think that impacted him. You know, the U.S. not having Charlie McAvoy due to the um, injury that he had with his shoulder, and I guess an undiagnosed um, infection that settled to the shoulder, and as a result, he missed the game. So the U.S. was down, uh, man with Kachuk out, and then curiously, Penguins head coach Mike Sullivan, who, rightly or wrongly, and I feel strongly that it's right to criticize Sullivan's utilization of veteran players over young players, and did that not strike home tonight as he decided to play winger and an older guy at Chris Kreider and gave him a jersey and helmet over that of Kyle Connor. The U.S. could have used Connor's skill and speed throughout that game, especially when Matty Tkachuk went down and couldn't continue to play, and then into overtime. Sullivan then was forced to really shrink his bench down to three lines and occasionally mixing in Trocheck as the 10th forward. So the U.S. Suffered as a result of that, I believe. I don't think that is why they lost the game, because obviously they got to overtime. And as I alluded to a few minutes ago, in the description of that goal, when Marner, a Toronto Maple Leaf, passes it over to McDavid for the winner, you will see Austin Matthews and how he covered, his position, which was he was put in a tough role because how the cycle was going, and he was looking at walling off that section of the ice to stop the pass. Unfortunately, Jack Hughes, who's a natural center, was playing wing, and Hughes also kind of stayed to his side where he was at, and thus that is why McDavid was left all alone. And probably 10 out of 10 times, McDavid is going to score a goal from that distance, that spot on the ice. And now we can say in that part of the game, the moment McDavid gets that goal. Maybe some other observations throughout the tournament, and probably more leaning here on the U.S. side, since we're here in Pittsburgh and I'm an American, and I would like to kind of call out the outstanding performance I thought of Jacob Slavin. I thought Zach Werenski was really good moving the puck. Slavin just basically dominated and controlled any zone entry that the Canada was trying to do. He did really good. I thought it was a really big disappointment of Adam Fox. I don't think he played well. He didn't on that overtime sequence. When you think about the Olympics coming up next year, and if it's Sullivan, remains the guy who's probably going to be the head coach, I think I think Fox is a defenseman that is probably going to have a tough time slotting in the top six going forward, especially with we saw with Quinn Hughes not even in the tournament because of his injury. And I think the U.S. can probably get better and more production out of him. And speaking of a Hughes, I don't think Jack Hughes played well at all this whole tournament. I think he had one assist, maybe, in the tournament. He wasn't a factor at all, and for a player of his stature and importance to the program in the U.S., he was a significant disappointment. Conversely, I thought Jake Gensel was outstanding. In fact, I thought he was the best player on the ice tonight. Every time he was out there, he was making things happen. He was getting the scrums, pushing players after whistles, and before the whistle would blow, he was getting tons of scoring chances. I mean, he could have had 2 or 3 goals with some of the chances he had. So unfortunately, as much as I criticize Matthews for missing some big chances there in overtime, Gensel had a couple in regulation that I'm sure now with his big game experience in scoring goals, he would want back. But again, overall, I thought he played really well. I thought there was maybe a very brief moment where Dylan Larkin was flying down the ice and got a really good shot off. But again, other than that, he really, I think he's a quality fourth line center left wing for the U.S. and their depth because of his speed and his two-way game. And so I think that's an important thing as we could move forward. I do wonder about the U.S. squad next year for the Olympics. I don't think they should be looking to bring back Kreider. I don't think JT Miller or Brock Nelson or even Trocheck are guys that should have a locked-in spot. I think think the U.S. needs to look deeper with some other players. I think JT Miller's still skilled, but again, I don't think in a big sheet of ice that's going to benefit him as he's getting older there. I want to see more of Matt Boldy. I think in spurts I thought he played really well. He's a guy who's flexible. I think he can play any forward position as a big left-handed shot with good speed, change of pace with his skating, and goes dressed in the net. So I think the U.S. has a good opportunity for development, and hopefully in the Olympics next year, both the Tkachuk's are healthy and not sick or injured, and maybe that's the only thing with Matty Tkachuk is to try to figure out what is going on. Like he got injured with the Florida Cup run, and now you got this. He plays that type of game, right? He's going to get into the dirty areas. He's going to mix it up. He's going to finish the checks. People are going to finish checks on him, and so he's going to get tangled up and things are going to happen. But it was kind of rough to see, someone of importance for the U.S. team. And, for 2 games, he wasn't able to finish and missed one. So we'll see there. I thought Jake Sanderson was really good. He scored that goal to give them the initial 2-1 lead there in a second. So really good for a 22-year-old to see there. Brock Faber, same thing. I think of the right defenseman, good. He played much better pairing up with Slaving, and as a result, I think he's going to have a much stronger shot to be getting more minutes and responsibility for the U.S. as we move forward over Adam Fox. And of course, Hellebuck, coming into tonight's game, he was leading the tournament with players that had 2 or more starts at a 957 save percentage. Tonight he gave up 3 goals, 24 saves, and 27 shots for an 889 save percentage. Obviously, not much he's going to do with the McDavid goal. Really hard goal for anyone to stop on the first goal that they scored when McKinnon came in from pretty long distance and got a goal through a big screen. But again, big time players make big time saves, even the hard saves, as we saw Binnington, stand on his head in the third and overtime. So there you have it. That is the quick little recap, little preview of what I'm expecting, and we'll have conversations, obviously later into 25, into 26 to figure out, start making recommendations about the U.S. Olympic team. But hats off and congratulations to Sidney Crosby, as he is a serial winner, and we respect him, admire him in Pittsburgh, and so congratulations to Crosby, Nathan MacKinnon, Connor McDavid, and the team in Canada as they win 3-2 over the U.S. in overtime. And with that, keep your head up and stick on the ice.